Hello everyone, it's me, Clayton, and I just got back from watching Solo: A Star Wars Story. Now, when it comes to the Star Wars anthology films, there are some that will come out that a lot of people will feel they don't really need to exist, but at the same time they can be a fun diversion from the main series. You can think of them like the appendix of the Star Wars series, a way to get more information and more stories out of a series we can't get enough of. And thus we have a Han Solo origin story movie, starring Alden Ehrenreich, and being directed by Ron Howard. So, does it work? Well, for the most part it does. It doesn't reach the heights of the most recent Star Wars films. I don't even think I like it as much as, say, Rogue One, but it is a flawed yet fun time. But let's get to the story, shall we? The story is mainly an origin story of Han Solo. How he grew up as a young man, how he got involved in the galaxy's affairs, and how he eventually became, the greatest smuggler in the galaxy. And it also has a few other tidbits like how he got his blaster skills, how he first met Chewbacca, etc., etc. I won't tell you the specific details because that would go into spoilers, but the story itself is mainly a series of events rather than a coherent narrative. That's not to say that the story is bad, it's more that it's just more like a series of adventures that led Han Solo to becoming the man we all know him as. With that being said, it is a very fun adventure considering that we do meet up with a lot of familiar Star Wars characters as you've probably seen in the trailers. We do meet up with Lando Calrissian, we do meet up with Chewbacca, but we also meet up with a couple of new characters along the way. There's a girl named Kira. There's a fun droid that's Lando's personal companion. We even have Woody Harrelson as one of Han's mentors, and a bunch of other characters come in too. And a lot of these characters are pretty fun because the actors portraying them are great. Alden isn't exactly gonna, shock the world as Han Solo, but he doesn't feel like he's doing an impression of Harrison Ford. It feels like he's doing his own spin, his own turn on the character, and I really actually like that. Emilia Clarke, I know some people are sick to death of her, but I think she was pretty good as Kira. She's got enough charisma to make the role work. Donald Glover is probably my favorite as Lando Calrissian. I love how charismatic he is in the role. I love how his little character tics that we see throughout. It feels very much like a young Billy D. Williams. In fact, I heard Billy D. Williams even gave him some coaching before he took the role, which is you can certainly see that in the way he acts. Woody Harrelson also does a pretty good job in his role in the film, even though I felt like he was less of a mentor and more of like a lancer to Mr. Han Solo, if that makes any sense. And everyone else in the cast is pretty cool too. The story itself isn't much special, but it is entertaining enough, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that the effects and the action scenes are, of course, as you'd expect from a Star Wars film, top-notch. They're kinetic, they're full of a lot of energy, there's a lot of explosions and blasters, and it has pretty much all the last-second rescues, tons of stormtroopers missing their shots, and, just the amount of chaotic fun that you'd expect from the Star Wars films at this point. Well, another thing I'll mention is that there is a specific cameo that happens right at the end that I'm not going to spoil for you guys, but it's a cameo that I did not expect to see coming, and that cameo sort of tells you where this film falls in the timeline. I won't spoil it for you, but let's just say it was quite a shock to see this character at this specific time. So, Solo: A Star Wars Story, its biggest flaw is that it doesn't really try much that's new. A lot of the events of the movie are stuff you've seen in other sci-fi films beforehand, and this film doesn't really differentiate itself too much from those, but it's able to pull through mainly because of its great cast, its fun action, and just the fact that it's clear that Ron Howard did a great job directing the whole thing. I do know that it was parts were supposedly directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller, but I think Ron did good enough on his own. So overall, it's a decent film. Just go in with your expectations at a reasonable amount and you'll have a fun time. I give Solo: A Star Wars Story a 7.5 out of 10. See you next time.